Before we get into this shit, I'd just like to direct your attention to NordVPN. That's right, I've sold out. If you make your way to 1201beyond.com/DromeVPN, you get 75% off. That's $2.99 a month, people. Why is a VPN important if you follow the sort of content I produce? Region-locked content. A lot of the Z-grade bargain bin trash films that I cover can be hard to find and sometimes even harder to view. Get strapped with a VPN and watch exploitation cinema with ease. That's 1201beyond.com/DromeVPN. All right, let's get on with it. So right off the bat, let's cover something else before I actually slice into the juicy meat of this topic. The exploitation genre or subgenre has zero boundaries. I mean, okay, I think that's a given. These films tend to be graphic and obscene or whatever, but that's not really what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at here is that literally everything can become a subgenre in the exploitation world. There's westerns, luchadors, Caligula exploitation, remake exploitation, even fucking Nazi exploitation. But there's one that I feel like not a lot of people really cover, probably because it doesn't really have its own subgenre name, but I've personally come to call it SLIME-PLOITATION. Now you may be asking, what makes a movie a SLIME-PLOITATION movie? Well, there are a few factors in quite a few films that make it work. One of them is revolving around people melting. Another is featuring a lot of slime and goo. This subgenre goes as far back as the 1958 film The Blob. I mean, we all know The Blob, right? It's literally about a giant blob of goo that goes around devouring and melting people. The Blob! The Blob, of course, got a fantastic remake in 1988 from director Chuck Russell, which in itself is a perfect example of the types of films I'm spotlighting. It's got the fantastically slimy goo and people melting in horrifically violent ways. Films such as The Incredible Melting Man, Street Trash, Slime City, The Stuff, and even Troll 2 are films I would lump into the slime-sploitation category. On the surface level, Troll 2 might be a silly little movie about midgets running around in cheap goblin costumes, but in reality, it's a fucking slime movie, man. They kill people by melting them down into green goo. And when they become the green goo, they eat them. And that green goo is everywhere in the movie. It's super slime-erific.
They're eating her. And then they're going to eat me. Oh my God!
Street Trash and Slime City are probably the best examples of a slime-sploitation movie. Both are also, honestly, in sort of a way, the same film. Both take place in urban decay, and both feature alcoholic beverages that cause brightly colored flesh meltdown. Difference is, in Street Trash, it straight up just kills when consumed, and in Slime City, it turns its consumer into a vicious psychopath that also happens to be all neon yellow and green and constantly dripping gooey flesh. There's also more mainstream examples of slime-sploitation, such as David Cronenberg's remake of The Fly. I personally not only consider this to be one of not even the greatest horror films ever made, but one of the greatest movies ever made, and a total slime film. The film's central focus is in the metamorphosis of Seth Brundle into the Brundlefly. And how does it happen? Through lots and lots and lots of violent, drippy, gooey, slimy greatness. As soon as he starts losing body parts, the film goes directly into slime mode. Hell, there's even human melting involved. He spits up his acidic fly puke spit and melts a fucking guy's arm and leg off. a scene which has haunted me since the tender age of about 7 years old. Also, remember that scene right near the end of RoboCop during the final confrontation, before he ends up at OCP Tower, where Emil tries to run him over but ends up plowing straight into a big thing of chemical toxic waste and begins to slowly melt away, going, and all that shit. Remember that shit? That shit fucking traumatized me as a kid. Like, I'm serious. RoboCop is quite possibly my favorite movie of all time, but it didn't officially become that until I watched it again, like, almost 10 years after seeing it for the first time. Like, that's how much that scene messed me up. I genuinely found the movie hard to sit through for the longest time, and now it's become one of my favorite movies ever. And that's one of my favorite scenes ever. And I attribute it to the slime-exploitation genre being one of my favorite subgenres ever. A subgenre of which features this kind of shit in feature length. What does this all mean? What message could there be to take out of this? I don't know. Maybe there's something in there about facing your fears and not being such a dork all the time.